Because do you want to know what happens when people try to be perfect? They give up, they burn out, they fail. Should I put this at the beginning of the video? I'll tell you right now, I was planning on having a perfectly put together 100% tidy space to show the 400 people who will see this tour. But then I was like, no self, that's not real. And this is how it'd most likely look if you were my bestie and I invited you over to watch the hit TV show The OC because you and me were intellectuals. So don't mind me, I'm just going to do a mini reset while we're hanging out. POV. You just walked in the front door, you see a kitchen cart. I actually have 2 of these. Bought one new from IKEA over 5 years ago. You may have seen it in the kitchen tour I did. And one of them is secondhand. I left one with my dad because we didn't have room. But I have no idea which one I ended up with. I have no idea which is which. So let me get this out of the way right now. Lots of furniture I show you will be from IKEA because I bought it all before I knew anything about thrifting and the importance of supporting the circular economy. I feel like maybe some other eco-content creators would have sold or donated all their new IKEA stuff and started over with all thrifted everything just to have more sustainable street cred or something, which I do get because the criticism is overwhelming. But like, no, I can simply explain that I wasn't born an environmentalist, right? Anyway, here's our FOODCYCLER. If you're unfamiliar with this contraption, I don't blame you because they have a tiny marketing budget. This is 100% not sponsored, but I'll tell you about it because I think it's cool. It's kind of like a countertop alternative to composting. You put food scraps like coffee grounds and avocado pits in here and the machine grinds them up and dries them out until it's kind of like dirt. We keep some reusable bags by the door and some in the car, so we're less likely to be out of luck if we forget them, but these ones need to be washed, so let me tackle this whole situation. Our last place had a shared laundry dungeon that was super mangy / terrifying, so I'm really stoked we have a machine in unit. Here's some laundry detergent I made. You want to know what it's not? It's not a laundry soap, which can make your stuff real gross over time and mess with your machine. Don't DIY laundry soap, okay? Promise me. But I wanted to compare my DIY detergent with stuff made by the pros, so I also bought a few other well-known eco-conscious brands to test out. We can do a whole video about my eco-friendly laundry routine if you want, now that the washer's not all spine-tingling to behold. Here's one of my favorite things ever, an armoire my dad made for me. It holds our secondhand Dyson, hand-me-down bedding for guests, luggage I've had since I was a literal child, but it's still in perfect shape, so I replace it. I don't get out much anyway, probably obvious. But more on the armoire, woodworking is my dad's hobby, and I think it's so special that I could design something I knew I'd love for the rest of my life, and he could just build it. I'm honestly not sure if crafting bespoke furniture is more sustainable in every aspect than buying new, but in one way I know it is, and that's that I'm holding onto this baby forever. And I can't say the same for fast furniture or even thrifted pieces necessarily. Moving on. Here's a neat picnic basket I thrifted, less for actual picnics and more for cute storage, if we're being honest about my priorities. Right now it's just storing part of my dried herb collection. I try to buy the biggest bags I can feasibly get through in a year or two, so this is basically like my own personal bulk store. And actually everything's from Mountain Rose Herbs, which is where a lot of bulk shops buy their products, so now you know and can avoid some markups. There's a life hack for you. Through here is the bathroom. It's very tiny and very dark in here, but we'll try to make it work. Here's our why can I never say that word? Here's our oral hygiene stash. Toothbrushes and a tongue scraper and some compostable corn silk floss. Tooth tabs. I do in fact use the Bite tooth whitening gel. It does work. I'll link to everything I can in the description, by the way. Deodorant and paper by Hey Humans. This is hard for me to find now. I hope it doesn't get discontinued. Toshiba Day. Reed and I don't know what to do with ourselves when we're away from it. This is a thrifted basket I turned into our bathroom waste bin, except only compostables go in here. Toiletries, etc., my makeup. This could be a whole video. What do you think? Susty personal care. Real toilet paper. No trees were harmed in the making of this product. Onto the shower. This is my favorite shampoo ever. It needs a refill, so let's take care of that. I'm kind of conflicted because honestly, I don't agree with the way this brand markets their product. They're kind of like chemicals are bad, which, like, be specific. Everything's made of chemicals. But I love the product and I love that it's refillable, so IDK. What would you do? Soap. I always get a bar of soap when we travel. It's kind of like my one go-to souvenir. I also have this for my face. Salicylic acid can be good for breakouts. A hand-me-down safety razor, and a few other thingies I can go into detail about in the hypothetical personal care vid. Let me know if that's something you'd watch. I just got an idea. I'm a thrifted ceramics hoarder for this very reason. You'll see. This console table was made by my uncle. Yep, woodworking runs in the family. Wish I inherited that useful talent. My uncle also did this painting. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say that a lot. And surprise, it's hiding this hideous dehumidifier. Like, would you even have noticed? Reed's vintage amp, made in our hometown San Antonio in the 60s, as well as his vintage guitar and bass. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but Reed and I are actually in a band, and he's the one who writes all the songs for this channel. Keeper. And in case you're wondering what this thing is, it's called a mini split. We have one in the bedroom too. I was so happy this apartment had them because they're so much more efficient, aka sustainable, than central AC. Our electricity bills are really low compared to our last place. Leather couch was a Facebook Marketplace find from our last place. It's Stuart's now. Aww. Coffee table was actually an IKEA floor model. It was literally the last one they had in the store after it was discontinued. I feel like that kind of makes it secondhand in some way. I guess because a bunch of people used it. Purists will disagree. Probably goes without saying that most of these books and records were bought used. And Reed just got these speakers. They were open box specials. You know how when people buy electronics and don't like them, the store will resell them for a discount? Yeah, I feel like that's a legit sustainable way to buy tech. Again, purists will disagree. They're hooked up to my secondhand iPad until we can afford a nice, solidly mid-tier record player. Okay, desk. Again, old IKEA purchase. It's fine. But let me just clear this off really quick, so please hold. The laptop and most of my desk accessories were bought secondhand. I love the fact that they don't look like regular office things. Kinda makes working just a tad more bearable. So let's bypass the kitchen and make our way into the bedroom. I'm not trying to build suspense, you are. Our bedroom now is about 1/3 the size of our last one. I find it sad that this place is like half the size of our last apartment, but literally double the rent. Thank God Reed has gainful employment. Compared to me. Anyway, this bedroom is much smaller than we're used to, but the light is like 1,000 times better. And speaking for all content creators, that's really all the apartment hunt boils down to. Plus, I need ample sunlight for my stupid mental health. Which reminds me, you're probably wondering how much a place like this costs in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So our apartment is 550 square feet, a pretty significant downsize for us. But the smaller your living space is, typically the better from an environmental perspective. And the rent is $16.50, definitely a significant upsize for us. That's not the word. There's an affordable housing crisis in Chapel Hill, so keep that in mind if you are thinking about moving here or have to move here like we did. The bed, let's talk about the bed. My dad made the frame for us as a wedding gift. The down comforter was from Facebook Marketplace, and the sheets, okay, rant. I've gone through so much linen bedding in my day because they make it so thin, so it'll start getting huge holes worn through if you so much as perceive it. But this brand is on par price-wise with the other guys, only infinitely better quality, speaking from experience. No signs of wear after like 3 years. It's from Magic Linen and I stan. Discount in the caption if you're in need of some ethically made bedding. This mattress is brand new. I have never bought anything from a targeted ad until I saw this one on Instagram that stopped me mid-scroll. It's called Earth Foam, made out of pure latex, aka natural rubber, has all the certifications you'd hope for, fair trade, yada yada, but there was like zero anti-scientific rhetoric compared to the other brands. Plus, it was like hundreds of dollars cheaper than even the cheapest avocado line. Done, like sold. Anyway, I'm sleeping like a champ, so if you're in the market for a susty mattress without all the bullshit marketing, maybe look into this one. I like it. This was not sponsored, not gifted. I paid for it myself. You know the drill. But I just feel like no one knows about this brand and I wanted to put the word out there. Little folding drying rack was a $5 secondhand score. I should put this laundry away. Ah, magic. Just kidding, I just put it over here. Mirror was bought new a few years ago. I slept on this purchase for over a year to be sure it was something I really loved. The closet is relatively small. I feel like we don't have that many clothes, but this closet makes it feel like we do. Shoe rack, I got it from Target like 10 years ago. Ditto for the baskets, but baskets are the one thing you're always guaranteed to find at thrift stores. It's such a waste of money to buy them new, I believe. Here's where I hoard sundry packaging materials to reuse, like tissue paper and gift bags, etc. And most of our clothes are secondhand. Actually, I just counted and 51 out of 70 of these pieces was either thrifted, scored in a clothing swap, or bought from Poshmark. Not counting shoes, which are mostly also thrifted. Everything else is 6+ years old, and I bought 4 or 5 pieces from ethical and sustainable clothing makers like Not Perfect Linen. Dresser, another piece handmade by Kevin. That's my dad. I feel like sickeningly rich to have something this nice, even though it was a fraction of the price of any other similar quality piece of furniture. The TV is a refurbished secondhand Samsung frame. I love that you can put whatever art you want, and when it's installed on the wall, it's pretty convincing as an art piece. So friendly reminder to check for refurbished tech. Also, not sure if you noticed, but the frame has been glued back together. Reed accidentally sat on it while we were packing to move, and we had to super glue it back together. Correction, we chose to super glue it back together instead of buying a new one. Figgy. She was the first plant I ever bought on Facebook Marketplace, and she's grown so much. She did sustain some minor sun injuries in Texas, but she's a trooper. Could use a dust though. Her little stand was secondhand. Reed's guitar, I think it was a hand-me-down. Fan was bought new because all the second-hand floor fans are hideous. That's just facts. Rug was found on Facebook Marketplace. Nightstand is vintage from Facebook Marketplace. Wall hanging from a small maker on Etsy. All this stuff was thrifted, except for the blankie that was a gift from my BFF. Here's my current read from a little free library. Highly recommend you read it. Oh, and I foraged and dried this goldenrod. My dad made these shelves out of plywood. Shelfie styling is pretty much all secondhand, with the exception of the old IKEA lamp, the plant I bought from a small local shop, and the candlestick is from my favorite ceramicist, Juno Pottery. Okay, I can procrastinate no longer. We'll do the kitchen. I'm not going to lie, I really miss my big bright kitchen from our last place, but this one has a few bennies of its own, namely the huge fridge. It won't be sexy, but I'll show you nosies what's in there because I know you're just like me and want to see. I try to keep it relatively organized so I can clearly see everything in there, and very, very little goes to waste. And don't come for me about the strawberries in plastic. I went years without buying berries because of the zero waste movement, and it was a dark time. Never again. The sink is also so big and nice. You'd be able to tell if I'd done these dishes. Dish soap and hand soap from Fillory. They're a zero-waste soap maker located in the next town over, and they've got little refill stations all around here, so I can just bring these dispensers and fill up whenever I need to. Compostable dish brushes, etc. Swedish dishcloth. I try to reuse as many glass jars and bottles as I can, since so many resources go into making, shipping, and recycling them compared to plastic, so I'm using a really simple DIY to dissolve the label gunk. Glass syrup bottles are great for storing homemade salad dressing. Oh, this Keurig is new since the last tour. Well, by new I mean secondhand. 9 out of 10 times. It's gonna be a safe assumption here. And we use these reusable pods instead of the single-use ones. Speaking of single use, in here is kind of our oddball recycling station. We have a place to put plastic packaging to recycle at the grocery store, and also a little steel can to collect our bottle caps. Metal bottle caps are technically recyclable, but the problem is they're so tiny they often can't be sorted and end up going to landfill. So we do a simple test to see if the cap is aluminum or steel. You just put it near a magnet, and if it's steel, it'll be attracted to the magnet. In that case, I'd sort them into a steel can. Aluminum caps go in aluminum cans, and once it's pretty full, you put the lid on and crimp it closed so the caps stay in place and everything gets recycled together. If you don't feel like doing this extra step, opt for aluminum cans instead of glass bottles. They have a lower carbon footprint anyway. And also in our oddball recycling station is this paper bag, which has a very important job. So we have the FOODCYCLER for like moist stuff. But we also have this compost pail where we keep our dry compostables, because here's what I do. Once it gets full, I have this paper bag that I put it all in, and then we walk this a few blocks down the street to the UNC campus. Now the campus has compost collection bins, so I dump all this stuff in there and take the paper bag home to reuse. The paper bag is also compostable. But did you know you have to reuse one of these 3 to 43 times before they're more eco-friendly than a plastic bag? Paper is not an eco-friendly material. Something to think about. So here's where I keep our dishwasher detergent, because yeah, we thrift handmade ceramics to make our dishwashing stuff sexy. We've been using drops and I like them so much. I actually just renewed my subscription. Highly recommend. And I actually have a discount code in the description below if you want to try them out. They also have a laundry detergent if that's what you need. Behind me is our recycling vat. It's pretty big. Yes, I do need to unload the dishwasher. Moving on to Ivar. Earlier in the video, I kind of justified why I'd be showing off pieces from IKEA. Like, oh, I only have this because insert good excuse here. So this time I won't justify having it. I'm not here to preach about what not to buy. I'm not here to be a perfect example of sustainability or zero waste either. I typically try to avoid holding myself to impossible standards. Yes, we are idealists here, but we also recognize that reality is not always in harmony with our ideals. And we grant ourselves flexibility when necessary, which is often. I think it's important to find a balance, the sweet spot between anti-consumerism and anti-perfectionism. Because do you want to know what happens when people try to be perfect? They give up, they burn out, they fail. The zero waste movement is amazing at getting good earth people to think that they're bad earth people. Should I put this at the beginning of the video? Well, I had more thoughts on that than I realized. Like and subscribe for more semi-unhinged babblings. Currently, Ivar is holding our bulk pantry staples, herbs, dishware. We got some grains, nuts and seeds, dried legumes, and herbs for making teas and tinctures and neat things like that. A few of my favorite pieces of pottery on display because they provide me with nice feeling brain chemicals. Most of these jars and ceramics are thrifted, but I did save up for a few special things from small makers like these East Fork plates and bowls, local to North Carolina. And inside Ivar are supplies for herbalism, fermentation, and sprouting, some of my favorite susty skills I've picked up over the last few years. So, aside from all the mass-produced IKEA furniture in here, I feel like homes just have a better energy when they're unique. Instead of chasing trends, you figure out what you're gonna love for the long haul and take your time to source things slowly. Shopping secondhand, accepting family hand-me-downs, taking in stuff off the street / dumpster diving, finding new ways to repurpose or restyle things you already have that maybe you're kind of bored of now, but maybe it just needs some reimagining. That's not only how you cultivate a unique space, it's also how you cultivate a sustainable space and save lots of money in the process. If saving money is of interest to you, I really think you'll dig this video. It was one of my first videos I ever did, but it still slaps. Oh, it slaps so hard.
One piece of broccoli? Here you go. Good brassica boy.